Hey, y'all, welcome to Indiana Jones, where every week we talk from both sides of the screen. Today, I will be talking, as always, from the side of a fan, and I will always bring the Jones. But today's guest will be Curtis Killingsworth. He will be bringing this unique side and perspective of the other side of the screen. And even more importantly, with today's episode, the big screen, actual movie theaters and movie theater chains, and just how that's going right now in our current culture. And so, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Dustin, and thanks for talking about movie theaters.
Yeah, man, I grew up loving going to the theaters, as I'm sure you have. You've been in the industry for over 12 years working in the movie theaters. But let's kind of build kind of your origin story. Was your first movie you ever fell in love with that gave you the itch from a movie theater, or was it just something like with your parents? What was the first movie for you that just really got you going and falling in love with movies in general?
Well, that's a tough question because it kind of skips over a long list of movie theater and movie experiences before I got to the point where I was like, this is the most important thing in my life is what I want to do in every aspect. That came when I was like 14 years old with a movie that's not very good, to be honest with you. Yeah, just going through teenage stuff. I watched The Story of Us, which is not a great Bruce Willis, Michelle Pfeiffer film. It's like a 95-minute. I was 14. I'm watching two 40-year-old people get divorced. And I cried. It's the first time I ever cried during a movie. And I had that emotional hit. And right after that, I was like, that's my new high, is this feeling emotion through something else. And that was kind of the moment where I was like, I want to keep doing this. Then I watched like three movies in a row, and it was just, I haven't stopped crying since. I watch a movie, I cry.
Yeah, no, it's so, do you consider yourself, I don't know if you're like me, we've had some conversations in the past, but I've told another guest, it's the emotions that it brings out since I'm such an analytical guy. One of my loves for movies personally is it can bring out these real emotions instead of just seeing things as black and white or statistics. Is that something for you that's why it's like just seeing these real, raw human situations? Are we similar like that, where it's just that you think more analytical when you're outside of movies, or is it just you just finally opened the floodgates emotionally when you were 14 and was like, man, I love it, I want to keep doing it?
Yeah, so I really break down movies. I've been watching them for so long, as I'm sure you do, where you see from the production design to the screenplay to the acting to the lighting, you name it. I'm seeing it all. But you just don't have a movie if you don't have the emotional humanity in it. And you go back to any great movie, that's what it has, whether it be, you're watching Titanic or Revolutionary Road or one of those dramatic gut punch kind of movies, or if you're watching Toy Story 3, the point is you're feeling with the characters. They're not even human in Toy Story 3, but you're feeling what's going on. And that is, in my opinion, and I think my opinion's right, the most important thing with any film is that.
No, no, that's a good point. So you had said that the This Is Us, the Story of Us movie, fast forward a little bit. So what was the first memory that you had where you just were like, I'm gonna watch movies versus this is what I always want to do? Like, what was that first movie? It's like, oh, this is so cool. What's your first experience of like that where it's like, oh yeah, I gotta watch another one, you know?
I think it was, I was probably like 6 years old, maybe seven. And everyone was watching like cartoons. And I watched, I want to say it was Demolition Man.
Ooh.
Parents had the VHS. I watched Demolition Man and I was like, holy crap. And then I put away the cartoons that day, and I went and I watched Demolition Man in like 8 seconds, and I think the film Alive, the plane crash movie, and,
As a 6-year-old?
yeah, I was 6. I was 6,
Oh,
maybe I
wow.
was 7, but I was right there, and, wasn't a lot of parental supervision as a kid,
Yeah.
so I watched those movies, and I was just kinda gobsmacked by what I was watching and how cool it was, and I kinda never really picked up the cartoons ever again. I just kinda sat in with films like that forever. I remember watching, like, Interview with the Vampire when it first came out, loving Jurassic Park, the film 8 Seconds. I just started binging those films and then watching them on repeat because we had 70 VHS. I could only pick from those movies. There was no streaming service to click on
Yeah.
to find something new. So I watched those same movies over and over and over again. And I didn't even know it then, but I that's where my pure love for cinema had begun.
No, it's kind of funny, just the idea that Demolition Man destroyed your childhood and turned you into a man faster than you should have been. Thanks, Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. So when it goes to your VHS, same way, grew up recording stuff. Like you would record stuff. Like you probably remember those days where we would throw in our tapes and we would record, and we could fit like maybe 3 movies on the
Yeah.
same tape. And you'd hit record. You might watch some for TV, or like sometimes like HBO was free for a weekend, and so then we would record almost every single thing. Right. So going
Yeah.
from something like that, just watching these VHSs, what was your first do you remember your first movie theater? What was your first experience in a theater, and what was that movie? Anything come to mind?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 So it was definitely in 93. So it was at the same time that I was really discovering film, 93, 94, around there. But I watched Jurassic Park in the theater with
Wow.
my family. And I remember, like, it's so memorable, although I would have been 5 years old when I remember so much about that movie. And I remember when she got we're back online and Laura Dern is standing there and a velociraptor comes through. I leaped out of my seat over my sister and into my mom's lap. It was pure terror. I was so scared. And that was amazing. That was a great experience. And I was lucky enough to find my way to a lot of theatrical films in my younger years, and that was great. And again, no parental supervision. On my 10th birthday, I remember seeing Species 2.
Species 2. Wow.
Yeah, so I was just I really got versed in film, by having, no one caring what I was watching, which I appreciate now. I wouldn't do it with my kids, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I'm sure we can spend a lot of time talking about movies that are certain ages of our you and I's lives where we're like, I should probably not have been watching Friday the 13th as young as I was watching it, things like that. And so I remember it was ET for me. We had a movie theater in Quincy, Illinois that had like a balcony. So, throwing popcorn over, we got in trouble. So us kiddos, but ET, I remember that. I couldn't imagine. I remember seeing Jurassic Park. I was older, there's a little age gap between you and I. So I was older. My memory of Jurassic Park, it was a phenomenal movie, but that's the movie that made me say never sit in the front row ever again. We got there late. We'd been doing work all day, me and some buddies. We got there, we got to the movie theater, and there was only the front seat. And it was a massive screen. And this wasn't like IMAX and stadium seating. This was a long time ago, right? And so this was looking straight up. And I remember the movie was phenomenal, but became anal where I actually count. I don't know if you do this. Do you have like your favorite place you have to sit in a movie theater when you go to?
Yeah.
Like, do you like to be all the way in the back? Do you like to be exactly in the middle? Like, what's your
I
poison
sit
there?
pretty close. I'm 3rd row back. Usually
Third
the
row. Okay.
top row of the bottom section is where I like to sit.
Okay, so right before it usually gets up for like handicaps right behind you usually,
Yep.
and then it'll usually go stadium from there. Yep. So especially
Yeah,
the
'cause
way you guys, your theater.
there's usually not people in front of me. I got space behind me, and I hate noise. So it's a quiet place to sit. It's not too close. I love it.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I see. I'm weird where I have to. Christina still kind of like makes fun of me. Like I have to I count and I try to be in the very middle because I want all the surrounds. I want all the sound speakers. I just want to kind of. I feel like when they set up theaters, it's kind of like everything's kind of going towards the middle. If I'm correct, and so I just want to. I just feel like it's the best sound. I guess I don't mind talking to the people next to me. As long as they're not yeah, I did go to Silent Hill once and somebody brought a 2-year-old that cried. It's the only movie I've ever walked out of 2 movies. That for a crying baby, and never if you ever become single again and you go on a date with a Christian girl, do not take her to 8 millimeter. That's all I can say about that.
Okay.
8
I love
millimeter
8
was not the
millimeter.
smartest. Yeah, I love the movie too, but it was probably not the smartest movie to
That
go
it's
to.
funny, 8 millimeter is my go-to first date film. Yeah.
That's how you met her. You were just like, we just happened to be, we both love the third row and we met at 8 millimeter.
Yeah.
That's funny. So when it comes to the theater, so you have a very unique perspective. You've been working in movie theaters. You've worked for multiple chains, and now you're with, College Station is just an independent owner, right? Like you have a businessman. Like this is not like a Regal, an AMC, and from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but individual movie theaters are a dying breed. Like usually it's just kind of these chains that are staying afloat because they've got kind of like this capital and they've got this. So what was that like for you coming over and what attracted you to coming over to such a maybe a scarier situation, or was just your meetings with them where like you're like, no, it was not scary at all. I was all in on what he was saying.
Yeah, it wasn't the meetings at all. I mean, the meetings really worked out. The guy who owns the building and the company, he's great. But I'd worked for chains for a long time, but I'm doing it out of passion for cinema. And so every time I would work for one, you would get that cold corporate feel. The higher you got cold and corporate. Go to a different chain, higher, cold and corporate. Then I got to one that's local to Springfield that is kind of supposed to be independent feeling for the cinema lovers. And it had kind of the same thing. But also, even if you're managing at a theater, there's a corporate office somewhere who runs everything. Your voice as someone who, hey, I know a lot about movies. I know a lot about what's going to do well. I've been doing it for so long. I want to have more input. And as soon as I ran into a guy, I actually just heard him talking to someone else. And he said, I'm going to open up an independent theater here in Springfield. I just immediately went and introduced myself and said, I'm a movie theater professional and I'd love to have a meeting with you. And I knew right then, like, nothing's stopping me from talking this guy into giving me a job because it's a theater where I can actually, I mean, it's almost like my theater owner in a lot of ways. Like, I don't own the building, but all the decisions get to start with a very small team of people, and they're not theater people. They had built
Mhm.
the building and they had the screens, and they said, well, "Let's do it." So there's me and one other person who are kind of the theater people who came in, and we get to use our expertise to really put into the films and to put into the community and to try to give people those great experiences that I think were dying out. But luckily, with the new generation, we see them blossoming back up, and that's very exciting to be a part of.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, since you've started so long ago, over a decade ago, you've kind of seen, like, I know COVID was really, really tough for all industries that were, people going and seeing each other, but movie industries took a really big hit and streaming industries just skyrocketed. And right around that time, sounds theater systems and TVs prices lowered, so there's all these things that can counter the movie going experience. What's some things that you noticed before COVID? Were there some trends happening where there were concern, or was COVID a big part of now you just feel like a lot of chains are revamping or wrestling with what do we do now? So was there something happening before that, or is a lot of this coming from just that pause? And then people just kind of building their own new ways to experience movies. Do you have any insight on that, or thoughts or theories?
Yeah, well, listen, the industry, obviously, streaming services existed prior to COVID, and they were making some sort of impact, but I don't think it was huge. You would still see, the theater goes through trends. So we were kind of riding last decade's big trend of superhero films, and they were still pumping everything up, and they were happening, and it's very trendy. The industry's always been very trendy. Not only when I've been working it, but if you just go back, it's a wavy industry where things go in and out. At the end of the day, the theater experience is fantastic, and we just had to remind people of that. During COVID, people forgot about that. They got super used to being at home. They had 1,000 movies to choose from every day. They could be on their cell phones. They could pause it. All these things that they thought was a benefit, but it's really not. I mean, it is for some things, right? If you're watching a Netflix original Charlize Theron film, Apex, it's probably a good thing you get to pause it 4 times while you're watching the movie to get through it. There's theatrical movies, and we just had to get people back into the swing of things, which we saw that happening. The box office is up 23% this year from what it was just last year, and last year was an up year. The first time we'd gotten close to our $9 billion mark that we try to hit domestically, and so we're going in the right direction. But also, people want different things. We all had to wake up to people want to be comfortable. They're comfortable at home, so we need recliners that are spacious, that are going to lean back, where people can be comfy when they're in the theater. We put heaters in ours so you can be that much more comfortable while you're in the theater. Everyone has a good home system now. So, we have 4 premium large format screens, and then we put Dolby Atmos sound in them, which you can try Atmos sound at home, but it's not going to be anything like what it's like having it surrounding you in these auditoriums. So we just update what we get, and streaming services, luckily, are kind of a pit for the owners of them. Paramount was like,
Mhm.
"Hey, we lost $500 million last year," and that was a positive. Like, there are there's not a lot of high marks for them. So we see a lot of the studios being like, well, what if we go back with a larger theatrical window? What if we didn't throw it to streaming so fast? We're really seeing that this year with Paramount and Universal. Universal saying we're going to go to 7 weeks next year. They're going to expand that theatrical window again, which is awesome. They learned that if you put a movie in theaters and then put it on your platform, it makes money before it's on your platform.
Yeah. Yeah. So since you were starting since so over 12 years ago, what was a normal theatrical window? And then what did it go all the way down to? And then as you say, it's upticking. So kind of walk us through that for those of us who, I know I've gone to a lot of movies, but I go opening week. So I don't really have to think about was it there for 8 weeks, 10 weeks. I'm just telling buddies and
Yeah.
friends, you got to go check this out, right? So when you're somebody who usually goes opening week, you don't think about that. But I remember Cold Storage. Christina and I really wanted to go see Cold Storage. Stranger Things had just got done. I saw the trailer. I like Liam Neeson, Joe, and all that. So I wanted to go, but I couldn't go the first week with you guys. And week two, nobody had it anymore. And I know some of
Yeah.
that might be just so kind of walk us through like 10 years, 12 years ago, what a normal, like, say, the final Harry Potter, or like maybe Age of Ultron, something like that. So what would the normal look like? Then what did COVID make it go back down to? And then so that way we can kind of put those numbers like how it's so we can because like almost I felt like things weren't getting better, but it sounds like I'm wrong. Like things are really you guys are feeling some momentum here, right?
Oh, yeah, well, so, I mean, not as good as it once was. It used to be a 90-day window. So a
Yeah.
film
Okay.
would
90
come
days.
out, and you had to guarantee that you wouldn't put it anywhere for 90 days or the chains wouldn't take you, right? So if you're releasing Harry Potter 7.2 and you're saying, "Well, we're gonna release it on HBO 20 days later," then Regal says, "No, we're not doing it." But everyone was on the same page. So like Regal, Cinemark, whatever, they would all get together and say, "Well, we're not gonna carry your movie then." And so the theaters had
Okay.
power. And so it worked out really well, but just agreed on a 90-day window. With streaming, it started to shrink down to like a 45-day window. And then it shrank even more uh, to a 17-day window during COVID, all the way up to like windows weren't even real anymore. You would put your movie on streaming and in theaters simultaneously, which was something that really started in COVID. Because you could go to the theater and watch it. Warner Brothers did this with all their films released during COVID. You could watch them on HBO Max, or if you had a theater that was open, you could go do that. And the theaters were like, okay, we'll do that because we can't. That's the only way we're going to get them, and that shrank things down quite a bit. And now studios don't even have to tell us the truth. Really, we've lost our power when it comes to those things a little bit. And now we really see it trigger again. Like Universal's like we're going to go to 5 weeks this year, 7 weeks starting next year to change our plans. And Paramount really saw with big franchises like Scream and Sonic that they could make a lot of money. Top Gun's coming back to theaters next month as a double feature. You can't buy one ticket, it's two separate tickets, but both of them are coming out and they're going to play back to back at theaters everywhere. They're seeing the theatrical value again. And they're also seeing that people do, again, the younger generation, what is that, Gen Z? Is it, no, Gen, whatever that generation is called, my daughter's generation, they're going to movies again. And that's just a wonderful thing. Yeah, so the windows are changing, but everything's fluctuating and the windows get longer. That's all we need is windows to get longer and for you guys to get excited about the films that are coming out, which means we can't get so buried in the idea of everything has to be a superhero movie. Everything has to be an IP. We really started seeing last year with films like Sinners that even like IP still exists, but like Project Hail Mary this year. I get that it was a book, but it doesn't have a comic book, 5 video games, a cartoon on like smaller IPs. People are coming out to see them again. As long as people will do that, theaters will continue to be successful.
Now, when it comes to the window, theaters were they bullish on it and wanted to go back to it? Because now my limited understanding of this is like there's always that. Well, the reason why concessions are so high and popcorn and all this is because you guys, when you get a movie, so let's say you got Project Hail Mary. My
Yeah.
understanding was like the first week, you don't get any of that, or you get like 10% of it. So that's why you're not making money off of the big movie. Is that a myth that got busted? Like that change and that may be the way it used to be? Or is it still like, well, that's why we need a longer window? If we only have Project Hail Mary for 14 days, And for 14 days, we're taking a hit on our ticket sales. That's why there becomes an issue with, prices of concessions, or it's tough to want to have the movie to even come in because you got to pay for staff, all that kind of stuff. So what does that look like when it comes to distribution and the hit you guys take opening week, or is it 2 weeks now? Like, how does that work?
Well, so it's a little bit of a myth. It's not quite. I think theaters back in the day used to say that to make people okay with a 400% markup on M&Ms. Well, we don't get to
Okay.
keep any money, which is it's just not. No, that's not true. We don't
Okay.
keep a whole ticket sale, though. Obviously, they're going to get some. For most, you're looking at a 50% split, and it fluctuates from movie to movie to 45. And it's also a sliding scale. It goes from studio to studio. It is not a rule that is
Okay.
just like, this is what it is. Some studios, I won't name anyone, but they'll do a sliding scale and they'll be like, well, you owe us this much. This is the percentage, unless the movie makes $700 million, and then it's this. But if it crosses over $1 billion, then it's this. And those big studios that have a ton of power and use those sliding scales, you'll notice their films stay in theaters a lot longer because they're really pushing for that sliding scale to go. And the more money that movie makes, the more money they get back. And also, well, I don't want to say too much. I'm kind of putting a certain studio under a button there, but so yeah, it's not true. But there's guarantees on some. The percentages change, and you can't guarantee how much money you're going to make. So, when you keep the lights on, you have all the people that come in, you have to have a certain markup on your concession stand. I can tell you, I look at the percentages on what we make, and I'll tell you that the markup is fair, especially if you're an independent theater that's not counterbalancing your success with a place in New York and LA and wherever. As an independent theater, we're doing well with what we're also the cheapest in town. So when the chains do it, they're like, they don't have a good excuse.
I've been to so many movie theaters. I've been to a movie theater in Beijing where I watched them bootleg the first night Jurassic Park with Chris Pratt came out. It was really weird. I was just there. I don't even know how that lines up as a movie guy, right? I was there like for a missions trip. It was just a crazy thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they had like 4 rows blocked off and 4 cameras. It was crazy. So because that released in Asia first, actually. So it was like getting it ahead of time. And so I've been to all kinds of theaters. What I love about your guys' theater is, I know this sounds so weird. I love that I can get a refill without having to go up to the counter. Just a little thing like that. Now that's not everybody, and I'm sure that's not like a marketing thing where you're like, "Hey, if we just put like them to be able to refill themselves, we're gonna sell way more tickets." So with that in mind though, what's something that you as an independent theater, what's something that you can strategize and say, "Hey, listen, we can't control some of these things. We at this time, we can't control windows." But what's something that you can control to give like my wife and I and this younger generation, what are things that you guys at your theater can control to make that more exciting for us to be there?
Well, I mean, in the business side of it, like as you've talked about windows, we can't decide what movies we're going to get for the most part. We can kind of decide on how long they stay. Um, and make sure that we can, as an independent theater, we can look at our community and our people that are around us and know that, hey, like we really leaned into anime because there's an anime crowd that likes to go to our theater. So we can control that we get those in, while another theater has a lot of corporate. They're like, we're only going to send it to so many people, and you're not a big enough city, for instance, to get this particular film. So we're not going to do it. But we have that ability to do it. But then it's really the normal things like, can we treat people well as they come in? Can we give them good service? Can we make the theater clean? Can we make the theater well behaved? Can we give them a comfortable seat and good quality? The little things go a long way because a lot of theaters have lost things like, can we be clean? Can we have good quality in your seat? Can we make sure people are quiet? They've lost these things, or their food got worse. We're not a restaurant, but we try to keep decent food for people to eat while they're there. These are really important things for us to keep people happy. And then because we're a local theater, we just don't try to pretend that we're a corporate theater where, you know, Joe Blow's company can't get into AMC to sell something. Well, we can sell local coffee. We can sell local pizza. We can have a local arcade. We can do all these things we can have, Pineapple Whip is huge in Springfield, Missouri. Well, we sell that. We're the only brick and mortar area for them to sell. So, we can do all those little things for the community and people like that, and just making sure people have a cheap place to bring their family. We don't do things like surge pricing, which almost all big theaters do now, where it's like, oh, it's Friday night. You're the most hyped person going to the theater. You come here the most often. You're dying to see this movie. Now give me $3 extra. Well, we think that's
Okay.
bad. I don't
Yeah.
like seeing like you're the guy who comes to the theater, and now we're going to charge you more because you're excited about a movie. We just don't do that. Our price on Monday evening is the same as our price on Friday evening. Even if on Monday evening you went and saw a movie that's been out for 4 weeks, and this Saturday you're seeing Spider-Man: Brand New Day, the prices are gonna be the same. We don't like do and the people notice those little things, and they get tired of it, and so we're just like, "We're not gonna do that."
Yeah, I can testify as someone who has gone to another franchise in this area that, they do have good food and, there's no knock on, they have an actual, a bigger kitchen and things like that. But we were big fans of them and we'll still go from time to time because I got to have our chips and queso that we like there. But I can testify that Tuesdays with you guys. So sometimes, so my wife we used to be always go together on Thursdays. We were always able to. Her new job, we're able to go Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesdays. So we've chose Tuesdays, not to take money out of your kid's mouth, but your guys' Tuesdays are so friggin' packed. Like y'all's Tuesdays feel like a Friday night somewhere else. Like, and you're right. Even Christine and I were talking just a couple weeks ago. Project Hail Mary had so many young people, like just so many. And
Yeah.
if people don't like that, how some people just don't like young people, but her and I, we were, college ministers, youth ministers, things like that. We were just like, wow, this is awesome just to see that many people in line. Yeah, it ain't fun to wait in line, but listen, your theater stays in flow. If I've got to wait, that means you're making money and I don't have to find another theater 6 months down the road, right? So, but
Yeah.
as a fan, yeah, you guys have a lot going on. I am curious about something with your theater, if you don't mind me asking. How has the love seats worked? We haven't, or we don't. You guys, they don't recline. Are you thinking about turning the love seats into recliners, or how is that experiment? Because I haven't seen that in a lot of theaters in the very back. You guys do a love seat
Mm.
thing. Is that doing well, or is it kind of like, are you able to talk about? I don't want to like,
Yeah. No, that's no problems. We took some shots at what it would look like to get what seats would work, which ones wouldn't work, and there are ways to make the love seats act differently, but we went with what we went with for a variety of reasons. Just like any business, it wasn't just like, hey, would these be good, but how much space are in it? We didn't make these rooms for these seats. These rooms were made for classic fold down movie theater seats. And so there were a lot of factors that went to, okay, we can try these seats here. Um, and I think they work pretty well. Some people don't like them. They do recline back. They just don't have feet recliners on them. But the pro is that if you and your significant other want to be able to cuddle during the movie without having an armrest in between you, you can do that on the love seats. And we have the day beds in the front of some of our theaters as well in the front row. And we did that because although we try to give ourselves more space in the front row so you don't have that Jurassic Park experience when you come to our theater if you have to get stuck on the front row. But they were like, what if people can just lay down? So we have beds in the front to where you can lay down. You're on like a lay down couch basically, and those have been really successful as well. They don't sell that well because people still don't want to be on the front row. But when people have to be on the front row, you get a unique experience. And every now and then people are like, "Yeah, I want to try it out. I want to sit down there." And so there's that too. I've done it once. I enjoyed it. If I have to go down there again, I will. But it's just one of those things. So it's a play around, but we're going to continue to do things as we expand our theater out and see just what seats work, which seats don't, and none of them are permanent.
yeah. So you have the flexibility to the budget to like next year, hey, we're not seeing a lot of people buying this or that because the goal is to get the butts in the seat, right? So it's like I'm
Yeah,
sure you
we
guys
don't
are
really
always
have a
running
problem with
those
the
kind
love
of
seats
numbers.
in the back row.
Yeah.
Those do pretty
Yeah.
well. I think at necessity probably because people like the back row. And
Mhm.
so we're doing okay with them, although it might turn people off a little bit on like first glance when you hear about it. I think once you sit there, people are pretty comfortable.
Yeah, yeah. No, your guys' seats are really comfortable. I kind of joke like sometimes I felt like in the beginning I needed an engineer degree. So like, oh, I got to do different buttons. But then once you get it down, I love your guys' table system. So if you guys are listening to this, I know some people who are listening to this, there are other people I've had on. So right now I'm in the Missouri area. So a lot of my connections and friendships I'm making are a lot of independent filmmakers in the Springfield, Missouri area. Curtis and I have gotten to hang out a few times and have conversations late last year through Ryan Smith, who was a guest. Y'all, if you see that episode, he's the one that introduced us. And so If you are in the area and hearing the hype and you have not gone from the one that we shall not name and you haven't given College Station a chance, I can testify that College Station is a great experience. My wife and I lived here 10 years ago when it was a different chain, and it was my least favorite theater in the United States. I just did not like how it was run. I didn't like the experience. I did not enjoy that. I did not enjoy that location before it was you guys.
Yeah.
And that's why I had a hard time. I thought you were just the manager of that location when I first met you. But
Oh,
man,
yeah.
your guys' your guys' front, how many times do you hear from a new person, "Wow, that's just the coolest statue and wall art." I mean, has that artist just been making tons of money off you? I so hope so. That is just you guys rocked it with that whole front as you walk up to your theater. Kudos.
Yeah, I think it looks great. The artist has been making a lot of money for a very long time.
Okay.
Her name is Susan Summers. Shout out to her. She's a very professional artist who has done everything from, I mean, on the theater that used to be Warenberg 16 here in town, there's a famous horses on the back. She did that forever ago, but she's painted like for the Olympic ceremonies. She paints, I
Wow.
mean, she's a very, very successful artist who just happened to have her very first art gallery in a building that was owned by the guy who started College Station Theater. And so when he was opening it up, I was like, "Come
Okay.
give us a mural." And she was like, "Absolutely." She did that. But she also did the statue. She's
It is
a
awesome.
multi-talented artist. She did both of them. And we love it. And I love that people, it's a talking point. It catches your eye. People see us that way. And then people come in, they're like, "Who is the third person on the left?" Well, that's Kathleen Turner. And people are like, "Well, how does Kathleen Turner? How did Ronald Reagan? Or how does any of
Yeah.
these people connect with Springfield, Missouri?" And then we get to talk about how that happened. And it's a way to get people
Yeah.
in, to get them talking, to get them excited about things.
I just think it's beautiful. And I feel like you guys, some theaters do not enhance a downtown experience just for couples walking around because you're going right into downtown. What a beautiful, because your guys' website picture does not show the new statue, by the way. You guys get that
Oh,
statue is pretty awesome. Yeah.
yeah, we
So
did it
just
on
want to,
purpose. So you have to come down. No, I didn't even
okay. No, no.
didn't even
Yeah.
occur to me
Yeah.
that that's not there. You know what, Dustin, I appreciate it. We're gonna have that fixed next week.
Hey, no, that's what we do as friends. We come on the show. We're here to promote you, and if I have one good idea, score. I don't have a lot. Christina will tell you, I don't have a lot of good ideas. But yeah, no, I was looking up some stuff on it, and I was like, yeah, you guys are right by that parking, and you're right by a couple different food places. We've been wanting to try some, but we'll walk around, and we've always like it's becoming one of our favorites. So kudos on that. And so what are some things moving forward? So we're going to transition to some little fun stuff. But before we do that, what's some things that you and other owners of theaters, what are some things that you can strategize and do to keep this momentum going? Is there anything going on coming up? Is there anything that you guys are doing? Or are you just because you're independent, like it's just you and your backer, the guy who's kind of helping, that owns the building? Do you and him and just a small team do it? Or do you have other people that you can meet with and figure things out?
Oh yeah, so the industry, we might be independent, but we still have people to. We have a booker who works with multiple people. We're part of the Independent Theaters Owners Association. But I mean, if you put all the independent theaters together, we're the second largest chain in America.
Okay.
And
Okay.
we get together. We'll meet at CinemaCon here next week, and we always talk about the things that are going to help us as independent theaters get better deals when it comes to, because as you can imagine, the big theaters, the big chains, they get better deals on popcorn pricing, concession pricing, movie. Oh, I just lost the word. Movie revenue splits. They get the better deals on those things. The bigger you are, hey, we can show your movie in 55 locations. They're going to get a better deal than the people who can only show them in one. So we get together and make sure
Okay.
that we're fighting that and keeping going. And so yeah, the answer is yeah, we still get together, we still strategize. We strategize with our booker who has a lot of places that she works with. We strategize with other independent theater owners and the industry more importantly, the industry as a whole. Cinema United, we also strategize as a whole. We all have a little bit of a voice in that place, and we're always trying to make sure that we're in the right direction, and we're seeing that momentum pretty well.
Nice, nice. Appreciate. And so CinemaCon, where's that at? Where's that going to be at? Like, are you part of that? Did you create that, or is that something that's always been around? I've heard of Comic-Con and all these things. So what's CinemaCon? Kinda give us a little bit about that.
Used to be called Show West back in the day. But the first theater I ever managed was in Las Vegas, and because I was local to Las Vegas at the time, I got to work Show West, which is basically I was putting candy in bags for all the bigger theater people to come through and pick up as they go in. It has exploded since then. Now it's everybody who's in the theater. Basically, all the people from the Regals, the Cinemarks, the Alamos, the independent theaters, the Marcus Theater, you name it. Everyone is going to get together, and we're going to see the upcoming slate. We're going to talk about the state of the industry with some really great people, directors, producers, big directors and big producers from the industry are going to come and talk about keeping movies in theaters. It's kind of the neat time where the studios come and show us what they're doing, and they want us to get excited for what they're putting into theaters. We get the cool stuff afterwards. We get to maybe see a movie that's not out yet and things like that. See a bunch of trailers that aren't out yet. Those kinds of fun little things. It's where you get together every year with all the big wigs, I suppose. And we all go to see, Caesar's Palace, I think is where it's at this year. And
Oh, nice.
we'll hang out for a week.
So I guess you'll get your movie filled with some of these fun new trailers. That's kind of that's pretty cool. I know you're just a huge movie guy, and so I guess getting to see a movie before anybody else is always a pretty cool experience. I know from experience. So what's something though, we're gonna transition a little bit here and we chat a little bit about this. So when it comes to, it's a tough business, it's a job. Like so when you're doing something that you love, but there's also the job aspect, that means there's long days, long nights, just like any of us who have a job, we clock in, we clock out. Yeah, it's great to love our job, but it can be tiresome. There can be ups and downs. There can be concerns. You got to pay employees. You want to keep employees on. You don't want to cut anybody, all that stuff. When it's tough for you, I know you can watch new movies because you get them in there. But what's a comfort movie that's always been something that's been a staple in your life? Like we all have something that we can always go back to and just relax and veg and enjoy. For Curtis Killingsworth, what's just something that's always been just like that? I need to recharge, or I'm flustered with some of these things I've watched, or I just want to cry again, have that emotion again. Is there something like that for you?
Yeah, for comfort, like crying is not something I have to like seek a certain film or genre out to do, right? Any movie I watch, I can kind of get there. So there was always my safe place was an actor when I was, my early teen years, and it was always Jim Carrey. For
Okay.
some reason, when
Yeah.
I watched his films, I would like my head would I would in my head I would act like Jim Carrey for the next 4 hours after I got done watching the movie. So it's just it could be Liar Liar, it could be The Cable Guy, it could be Dumb and Dumber, it could be many of his films, and they just make me happy. They put a smile on my face, and whatever's stressing me out, which is not a lot these days. I'm a pretty happy guy, but that didn't stop me from
That's
watching
good.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2 this morning. I just smiles on faces. So it's definitely just Jim Carrey in general for the most part. I can't think of a single film of his that wouldn't make me happy to watch.
Okay. No, that's good to know. Yeah. I mean, I never thought about it in that way of just an actor or just, sometimes people have a certain genre or like I'm a Lord of the Rings guy. So, of course, I can always go back to the first fellowship or something like that. So, no, I appreciate that. So, I'm going to do a little segment we've never done on any episode before. Are you ready?
I'm
We're going to
ready.
do in a segment called Eraser. So, I have the mutant power to erase a topic from your mind. And so instead, since we're talking movies, I'm going to erase a movie from your mind, but I'm a good guy. So I'm going to ask for consent. What is a movie that you've always wanted to relive for the first time? The emotion, the spectacle. What is something that I can gift to you, take it all away from your head for 24 hours, and you get to experience something brand new? Is there something that you just, man, I so envy these people when they get to see this. What is that movie for you? You got something in mind?
So I get to bring it back though after 24
Yes, you
hours.
get to
My
bring it back. Yep.
experiences
After
with the
24
movie
hours. Yep.
isn't erased. So it would just have
Okay.
to be
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
favorite
Because
movie.
you work in the movie industry, I can't erase it forever because then it's like, well, what if some of your job, that's going to be some awkward conversations down the road. So yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the
I'm going to
film
give you all that back in
that I would
24 hours.
choose, yeah, the film that I would choose to have for the first time would definitely be just my personal favorite movie of all time, which is 1991's should have been Best Picture Oscar winner, Point Break. Point Break is my favorite movie ever by a lot. I love that film. I watched it every week probably as a teen growing up. I've seen it so many times. It was like the movie also before that my parents were divorced, there was we had a van that had a VHS player in it, and I could watch Point Break 2 times on the way to my dad's house, and when I got picked up, I could watch it 2 times on the way back on these weekends, and that's what I would do. So if I could experience Point Break for the first time all over again, if I could see it on the big screen, which I've only got to do once, that would also be pretty great. But I don't know what I'll think of it today. If I saw Point Break for the first time at 37, would I love it the same? So not only would I like to
Sure.
experience it for the first time, but I got to get my old memories back, and I think I want to forget what that first time was like, just in case it soils it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a
No,
dangerous
that's good to know.
game.
Yeah, that I'll keep that. Yeah, no, it is a dangerous game. Those who just think of it in a casual way, but when movies have, you and I, that's something that we have in common is we attach a lot of memories. Movies have helped us through things. Movies have been a part of how we connect, a part how we can disconnect and just, stay in a happy zone and just a good place mentally and physically and all those things. And so that's a good one. Is there a movie now I know where you and I disagree on some things is I can be more negative. You seem to love a lot of things and have a harder time. Is there anything though that you would want to erase for good? Hey Dustin, use this power. And you know what? I just wish I'd never seen this film.
Yeah.
Anything?
So I'm gonna be half serious on it because I
Okay.
think the bad movies also give you the appreciation for the good movies. Without the bad ones, you might not understand why the good ones are so great, and why the mediocre ones are still pretty good too. So again, I erased an actor is my comfort movie, right? It's Jim Carrey. So I will take out a director who I'm just tired of hearing about how good he is, and I don't like him at all. So here's where I lose people. I would just erase John Carpenter.
Ugh.
I would just get rid of
Ugh.
him. I know, yeah, I
This
would I
guy.
don't need vampires or his dark early Halloween films. I will be sad that I'm losing The Thing. That's too bad.
Yeah, but how could so yeah, but you don't at least you don't think Thing is high enough to like there ain't like a straight to DVD movie you can just erase from your mind. Like you really want Ghost of Mars gone so bad that you're willing to throw the Thing out with the bathwater?
If I had to keep one, it might be Ghost of Mars, because then
Ghost of
people
Mars
wouldn't
is awesome.
argue all the time that, that John Carpenter is one of the great filmmakers. I just don't I've never really enjoyed Carpenter's aesthetic, and because I'm so plugged into the film world and it's what I talk about all the time. He's just the director who comes up that's so often people's favorite movie is The Thing or Halloween or their favorite filmmaker is John Carpenter, and it just kind of drives me a little bit nuts because I don't like him.
All right. So, everybody, you're hearing this for the first time. Curtis Killingsworth has some kryptonite, and it's John Carpenter. That's very interesting. Okay. You're willing to lose the thing. Okay. I understand. The thing is probably on a few of my Mount Rushmores. I am one of those people that I try not to run with the majority. I'm very against the grain kind of a personality. But the thing is, just when I was a kid, I didn't like, I'm 50. So older than you, so I grew up even in a time where it's not like I had I didn't have stuff to go to with these movies. These movies, I didn't have sites or
Sure.
anything, all that stuff. And so when you saw a movie, most of the time it was either a trailer in the movie theater. That's why it was so awesome to go to a movie theater. That's where we could know what was coming up. And so that's an experience I miss having. I have too much trailers at my disposal now. And sometimes I can analyze a trailer where I go to a movie and I'm like, well, that scene hasn't happened yet. So I guess this person's good until that scene happens. Right. And it can kind of ruin that experience. And I'm sure you've got situations like that. But the thing, I just remember being a boy and that music, it's that music. And it's just so simple. Then I wanted to go see, he's got this really weird one with Donald Pleasance. It's not Halloween. It's like they're in this church, but what the heck was the name? I can't remember. It's not that great, but I remember being scared. I was like, can't remember the name of it. I think Robert Carradine was in it. They're like studying some kind of possession thing. It was kind of weird.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
have to
yeah.
look it
With
up.
the is
Nerds,
it
look it
Village of
up.
the Damned?
It's not Village of the Damned. It's why it's like, when it's an 80s movie, they could be forgettable. But let's look at
Yeah,
John
they can.
Carpenter's. Yeah, no, I know. Wow. I wanted to throw in 80s so it's just so everybody knows Curtis Killingsworth wants to remove all things 80s from all of our minds. But
Not all things
just
80s.
no,
I'm
just
I
joking,
hate
just
I'm from
joking.
the 80s.
Yeah, yeah. No, I meant movies. Well, dude, you're gonna get rid of Big Trouble in Little China. That's fighting words right there, man.
Yeah, no, it
Yeah,
doesn't really bother me. I know a lot of people are
Prince of
huge
Darkness.
fans.
Yep. Yeah, yeah.
I
Prince of
remember, yeah,
Darkness.
if it you know, in
That was
reality,
funky.
I'd probably remove, like, Staying Alive,
Staying
because I love
Alive.
Stallone and I love Travolta, and I love Saturday Night Fever, and Staying Alive is just or, like, Dirty Dancing, Havana Nights. Some of Independence Day Resurgence, that's what I'm gonna go with
There you go.
for R.
Hey, all right. He's sorry for all of you Independence resurgent fans out there, all three of you that probably will never come across this podcast because you gave up on movies or you don't have good taste anyway. He would remove a good movie to remove. There you go. I like you again. John Carpenter, the thing gets to stay.
I
Nice.
apologize to John Carpenter fans. I know it's controversial.
No, no,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no, no. It's okay to be controversial. I mean, Jim Carrey being your comfort person, people are already like, okay, we can get behind this guy. So we're all allowed something controversial, you know. So let's go from
Listen, don't leave me on a ledge here. What's your most controversial take?
my are you asking about a movie I would erase for good because I hate it? Or are you asking for dude,
What's
I
the
know what
most
I can say.
controversial that you would erase, but you mean it?
I would erase Titanic from everybody's experience and existence from the face of this earth.
The
I do not
ship?
get the movie. I don't get the hype.
Yeah.
I hate the movie Titanic. I've never liked the movie Titanic. Saw it on opening night with like 30 people from my Bible college. Everybody thought it was super amazing. I thought it was a joke. I'm laughing out loud when she says, you know, I'll never let you go. He sinks. I'm just laughing out loud like a hysterical madman that's like, "Ooh, see, because I back then I just didn't believe in love and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So Titanic
Yeah.
did nothing for me, and it has never done anything for me, and it never will do anything for me. And that probably is a pretty controversial take because it is one of the top most famous. People love it. When people argue objective versus subjective, they'll usually say Titanic is objectively one of the greatest. I think it's trash. So there you go. Everybody hate
And
me.
it's okay
Thank
to
you,
be
Curtis.
wrong
I just
about
lost.
stuff.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You know, I just lost viewers. So thanks, Curtis. Appreciate it. I wasn't,
Yeah.
you know, you're only going to be here once. So I'm okay with you being the villain in a little bit. You know, we give you an origin story and then, you know, we'll see how it goes. But that's, you know, don't make me a villain yet. But
No, it's
no, I
great.
would.
Hey, if this is on a platform somewhere, I wanna hear other people's, controversy. Everyone's got a controversy. They hate Star Wars or they think De Niro's trash or what, there's people like that all over the place.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a good point Curtis makes. If you guys listen to this, if you see me on my Facebook, his, I'll give him a link. We'll be on Spotify, YouTube TV, Apple. And so if you watch the video, you can comment, let us know what would you erase to live for the first time. For me, it'd be the Patriot. To see this, and it's for one scene, aim small, miss small.
Ugh,
So to see Mel Gibson go from that son thought he was such a coward and was so mad thinking his dad wasn't going to do anything because of his brother, right? And then Mel Gibson has to watch him. Sorry, it's been out long enough, so shame on you for waiting this long. But he has to watch his son die, and he goes as badassery as a dad can go, right? And
yeah, he
he takes
does.
his little boys with him, and these boys are scared. And so, like, I want to get tears the emotion behind that whole aim small, miss small scene. And then as it ends in that furious, you know, climactic scene, dude, and Mel Gibson, I thought
Blood
he was killing,
soaked.
you think he's killing someone for real. You really believe he's this angry. And there are other amazing scenes. I mean, when Alec Baldwin is told to throw the torch on on the church. I mean, Patriot doesn't get enough credit for some of the most amazing
Adam
scenes.
Baldwin.
Adam Baldwin, not Alex. Sorry. I apologize. I apologize to Adam Baldwin for even accusing you of being someone that Adam Baldwin has never killed anybody. I'm a big Adam. Ooh, shots fired. I mean, oh, shots fired again. So anyway, I don't mean to make light of that situation. I apologize. Edit it, nerds. Edit it. I don't have nerds. But Adam Baldwin, you know, that scene with the church, I mean, it's a freaking really good movie. And it's not even my favorite Mel Gibson movie. And I don't know. I just want to relive that over again. And that's the whole point of that. So what's a movie like you? Like, is it a scene? Is it an emotion? Is it just when Kate Blanchett started narrating Fellowship of the Ring? Right? You know, just, you know, for all of us Token fans out there, that's up there for me. You know, it's just movies. That's why I love movies so much. There are so many great memories of my life and so great fun conversations with friends I've met along the way afterwards because movies is a thing that can divide us, but it's a fun division. We can argue about John Carpenter and not hate each other, right? But man, we can also connect as people and we can have a little bit of unity because, you know, there's just something that attaches us to emotion. So it's just that's why it's always been a big passion of mine. And so, yeah. So name it, tell us. I'll let Curtis know and I'll say, hey, what do you think about this? And then maybe he'll come on and he'll argue with you and say you're stupid. I don't know. No, he won't do that.
Nice.
No, he won't do
Hey,
that.
hold on, before we move on, I just want to piggyback. The Patriot is one of the most underrated great films I have ever seen in my life.
Did we
It is
just
so
become best
great.
friends?
Yep. Also, one of the greatest things in that you can ever watch in cinema ever is Mel Gibson getting angry. It's
Yeah.
fantastic every time. From when he was getting pissed off on Lethal Weapon to The Patriot to Bloodfather. When Mel Gibson gets mad, I am glued.
Yeah, no, you are right. He does. Man, I just want him. I really hope. I've heard that. I don't know. You might be a little bit more familiar. I haven't really been doing a lot of rumor sites and things like that. I don't know how you. I don't know how much you try to. You get to see so many movies being sent to you, so maybe you don't do as well. But I've heard that he's redoing. So they're basically doing a Lethal Weapon. Is this? I think. Would you be pretty excited? I mean, we're older. Do you think
Yeah.
that he has it in him to give us another, like, a really good movie? Or have you, like, I watched that movie last year, I think it was called Hunting Season. I just wasn't I was excited. I was like, "Okay, Mel Gibson in an action movie." I watched Dragged Across the Concrete, just didn't feel like him and Vince Vaughn. I was and I even watched, I'm a big John Wick guy. I love John Wick, and that he was the villain of the
Yeah,
TV show.
Continental, that was not his fault.
Yeah, it wasn't his fault, but he didn't really bring it in the scenes, you know what I mean? So it's like, man, I
Hold on,
really
I
want a
gotta say
great Mel
something real
Gibson movie.
fast.
Okay, go ahead.
It's important to me to say, Hunting Season, I know the writer of that film.
Huh?
Did a great job, man. It's wonderful. Just to go back off the film, but I think he's got it in him. I don't think we're ever gonna see it. I think Glover's way too old. I think Richard Donner isn't around, so now Mel Gibson has to direct it, and Mel Gibson is directing the Resurrection of the Christ films right now.
Mhm.
I think it's a really long shot that I mean, they're very old. I mean, Glover is like the
He
guy's
really
gotta
is
what?
too old
He's
he
gotta
really
be
is too old for this shit. He
he
really is finally
really
too
is too
old
old
for
for this shit.
Yeah.
And so is Riggs these days. I don't think it'll if it does happen, I'd watch it. I would, but I also think all 4 of the Lethal Weapon films are good, and it might be one that let's just leave it alone. Let's not go again.
Yeah.
But we get
Did you
maybe Rene Russo, Joe Pesci, maybe Chris Rock comes back as Butters. I mean, it could be a lot of fun.
you know, Would it so think about it, I wonder if I didn't think Top Gun 2, I didn't have high hopes for it, right? And so I wonder if it could be something around the kid, like they finally, the kid or Chris Rock and that girl, maybe it could be something around like they aren't, they're not cops anymore, but something happens around like a grandchild or a child. And, you can bring back where you're at, you have the legacy element, but it really is about like some new blood, and I think that that would be a way to do it.
At this point, Riggs and Rene Russo, they had a baby at the end of 4 in '98, so that kid is now old enough to get into some stuff, and Grandpa Riggs has to come out.
Yeah. So
Write
you
it
got
write it, Dustin, let's make it.
yeah, no, I mean you got, I mean, yeah, you're right. Little Riggs is no longer little and can be a cop and him or her was it a boy or a girl? Did we get a name at
Ooh,
the end? I can't
I
remember.
wish I could remember.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
remember
remember.
nerds. So yeah, because
But
I always
also, it was, Murtaugh's daughter had a baby the same day.
with Chris Rock, right? That's because they
Yeah, it was like the
introduced
same
Chris.
day, I think.
Yeah, so they both had
So,
female, yeah, so a little love story there or something, or
it's
one's
a
good and one's
female
bad.
cop.
One's good, one's bad.
Ooh, ooh,
Riggs gets a little bit of that craziness, little Riggs.
yeah. Baby
Yeah.
Ray's a little off the who's
Whoa.
surprised? Nobody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. "Oh, you want me to get crazy?" So, yeah,
Yeah.
and we could probably bring back Gary Busey.
Gary Busey, oh my god. I was gonna say he's not in that, but he is. He's
He's a villain in
Joshua
the
in the first one.
Yeah, yeah, he's
Yeah.
awesome in the first one. He's really good in that one. So that here's a fun look. We didn't talk. So this kind of brings me to a kind of fun little thing. When something that you loved as a kid or a movie, like Lethal Weapon, Mel Gibson, when it gets turned into a show, you're not a big TV show guy, right? Do you give it a go? Did you try Lethal Weapon the show? Is there anything like they did Training Day into a show with Bill Paxton, but unfortunately he passed away. But do you ever give any of that stuff a go because it's like you're already attached to the characters, or do you're like, nah, it's like there's money grab, you know? What's your thoughts on some of that stuff?
No, I don't give it a go.
Okay.
I don't give it a go, not even a little bit. But I mean, when I do watch TV, it usually has something to do with the movie. Like, I don't to bring Jim Carrey up again, but he had a TV show that came out a couple of years ago on Showtime. I watched that. Every now and then, an actor that I really appreciate will do some TV, and I'll watch it. Oh, you know what? Let me go back. If it was like a cartoon version of something, I sometimes like I'll still like there's like a young James Bond old show that I'll like catch an episode on YouTube or something for nostalgic purposes, or like the Men in Black cartoon show. Again, Jim Carrey had like his '94 stuff, Ghostbusters. So there's some cool like we're doing an animated version of a movie that I was big, and it came out when I was a kid, but I'll watch that maybe for a nostalgia hike. But yeah, when they're like, it's live action and it's Damon Wayans and Chase Crawford, I think it was, and we're making Lethal Weapon again. Like, you're not Mel Gibson, man. Like you can't do that. It's not really something that can be done. And I didn't get it. Was it? Did you watch it? Was it good? Am I wrong?
I'm glad you asked. So let me tell you something. I don't know if you know, there was drama behind the TV show. Christine and I, Chandler Riggs brought us in on episode 1. We were in on episode 1. This kid,
Okay.
this guy pulled it off, and Damon Wayans pulled it off. Their chemistry was amazing. The first 2 seasons were actually first though, here's a caveat, you have to like episodic TV though, because it's episodic. So if you don't like that formula, you're still gonna like the acting, you're still gonna like the relationship. They pull off the, because that first season, it's a full season of Murtaugh bringing Riggs around his family, right? So you're getting more of that distrust. You're getting more of that story of,
Uh-huh.
instead of it being punched into one little situation. And it's an episodic. So if you don't like episodic, don't give it a go. I don't think, you got to like that formula. Second season, still pretty good. The rumors or what I've read is he just started, he was a hothead. And when he got to direct stuff and do stuff, he got Damon Wayans seriously injured. So he got fired. So they brought Sean William Scott in season 3. I like Sean William Scott. I think Goon's a
Me
very
too.
underrated. I think it's a very underrated sports movie. I love Goon, and I like a lot of his stuff. I didn't love Becky too, but I thought he was a good character. I know he's in a movie that just came out called the Dolly or
Dolly.
something, and he says he's never doing a horror movie again because of just his experience. He was like, it just was too much for him, I guess. So I like him. I've liked him. Bulletproof Monk. I'm probably one of the few people that love. You probably I like Bulletproof Monk, right? It was yeah,
Heck
fist
yeah.
bump. We're best friends. So, but he came in season 3, but he just had tough shoes to fill, and you were already bought into that it was like the Lethal Weapon world. So, like, if you're a movie fan and you don't like shows, this is where I can kind of chime in a little bit. I used to not watch much shows. I was pretty busy, did a lot of youth ministry stuff. So we'd go to movies and things like that. But I worked for this youth pastor that loved Smallville. And so I would go watch with one of his kids was in our youth ministry. So we would go watch Smallville and stuff like that. And then people at my college turned out they liked Smallville. So I ended up, it was like the show Smallville that got me start watching every single week. Like I've watched every single episode of the show. And I'm not going to say like it's the greatest show ever, but just the people that you could talk about it with and characters.
Yeah.
Because, that's an important element. I'm sure you have tons of stories of you go into a movie with buddies and then you just talk about it afterwards, go out to eat and stuff. But Christina and I, we got into Walking Dead together when we got married, year 1.
Uh-huh.
And we just have fallen in love with TV shows. And I'll be honest, I almost would do a podcast just about TV shows now. I would say that probably in the last 2 years, I've watched more hours of shows than I have movies for sure. Like I'm
Yeah.
really like there's some really good stuff out there because it takes like you and I, we love these stories and these worlds that get built. And if a show does it right, we just get we get a trilogy. We get a 6, we're just getting
Sure.
we're getting the same thing, and so that's where the beauty of streaming comes in. We can just wait until all 8 episodes are out, and I just watched 4 movies. I just watched 4 two-hour movies, if you think about it that way. So we'll usually
Yeah, I
watch
try to
2
think of it that way.
episodes.
It doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
But when I watch TV, like for instance, I watched all of MCU and I just had to do a catch up because I'm not loving it. So I let it go for a while. I was like, I'm gonna go back in. So I watched it in movie bits. It was a 4 episodes of Wonder Man at once. That's 2 hours. Then I just watch it and move on and go. Yeah, it's been pretty good. But yeah, it doesn't doesn't really work for me. But I try, some shows we're watching The Pit. That's a really good show. I'm trying to watch Steven Soderbergh's show, The Nick, that came out in the 2015 area. He
Is the
directed
Nick the
every
one like
episode.
he's like an old cop, isn't he like, is that the one where he's like a doctor doing experiments and stuff? Is that the Nick
He's a
or is am I
he's a doctor.
okay.
Clive Owen is a doctor, and Soderbergh directs all 20 episodes of the
Oh,
show.
really? I haven't
Yeah,
watched it,
and I
but
was like,
I've
well,
seen trailers. Yeah.
that might be worth watching. You watch the first couple episodes, it is good, but then I'm also like, I don't know if I'm not dying to watch the next episode. So
Yeah, I wonder if do you think it's because 'cause you're so used to just because with a movie, you're done in an hour and a half or 2. You don't feel like you're committing a part-time job for just this story, and so a TV show sometimes, like, if you're someone like I think you and I are a lot alike in this way is we can get really hooked on the story, and if you've hooked me in with the characters, like, we'll go see Lethal Weapon 5. I've got it okay, you bring it back, I mean, let me give it at least a shot. You at least got, a ticket because you gave me good stories. But then if you give me
yeah,
Lethal Weapon 5, but they're the 2, Glover and, Gibson aren't in it, well, then you may not get me, right? So you get hooked on these, and so that's where shows can just and then just these days with the way they've spent more money, you're getting a bigger budget. Like Game of Thrones, you're getting war scenes and stuff that rivals I mean, Game of Thrones has
yeah,
stuff that there's nothing that Braveheart has in it from a just a choreography. I mean, Game of Thrones has stuff that beats it. You know what I mean? I'm
yeah.
not saying
I
it beats
think
in a store, but
for
you see
me,
what I'm
it's
saying? So you're still getting that huge, big blockbuster budget these days, and that's what's cool to me.
I think what it kind of goes back to what we talked about really early on in this thing for is that you got to have the emotions. And one of the great things about movies for me is that whether you're 90 minutes or 3 hours and 50 minutes for the Once Upon a Time in America fans, you tell the story inside this block and you give me the full range of emotion. You give me everything inside this one piece of art. And they don't do that in TV shows. You don't get to go through everything every episode. Like okay, first I just watched Daredevil season 1, Daredevil Born Again season 1. And have you seen the show?
Yeah, yeah, there's fillers. We're on episode tonight, we're gonna watch episode 3 and 4 of season 2. We've done
Oh
the
yeah,
first
so
2 of
I'm right
season
there with
2.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm on episode 4 of season 2.
Okay, yeah.
But you get that first episode and you get a lot of emotion, right? You get spoiler
Mhm.
alert, but someone dies in the first episode. You get Daredevil as Daredevil. You don't see Daredevil again, and I think until episode 6. It's
Yeah.
just Matt Murdock. And to me, I mean, it's a bad example because I think the show's really good. And I was really into the Matt Murdock show. I enjoyed it, but it's not really a Daredevil show. But if you made this into a 2.5 hour movie, I think you could have told most of that story and it would have been more entertaining and felt less of like well, we're going to spend time with this character for a while that we really don't care about. And I like Michael Gandolfini and all, but he's just like a henchman, right? So let's just use him as a henchman. We can see him 4 times and enjoy his death. I don't need to watch him have his 19th conversation with the girl who's selling the stories. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
just how
yeah.
I see it. It's a
No, and
bad
I get it.
example overall, though, because I think Daredevil's been killing it. I think it's a very entertaining show. I do like it a lot.
So, I mean, it's not like you're anti-shows or anything, it's just it takes more to get you hooked in, and I get that. I mean, I think for me, it was so once I transitioned to shows, though, I just think with Christina's an overnight nurse, she had a couple hours, but, like, when she has like, if you're married to a nurse and they work a 13-hour shift, there's usually a regimen where they like, she likes to, like, just veg for a couple hours. So me being a movie guy, I would just show her movies and movies. Well, then we just started realizing she's like, "I want something more lighthearted." So we started, like, stuff like The Rookie, just more
Sure.
episodic and fun. And then we just started falling in love with shows all these years later. We're now looking for like last night we played around with High Potential, just a little funny comedy detective show, right? So things like that. And so, part of it just and hey, and you're 36, maybe when you're 45, 46, you might start going, all right, this Dustin was onto something, starting to like some of these and 8-episode shows are awesome, man. 8-episode series. Now, these 24-episode series, I can understand. Like, if I said, "Hey, go watch Supernatural," how many episodes? I think it's like 221. Okay, that's a
I know it's
uh,
15. I wouldn't even be like, no.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't
So I understand
You can
that.
say,
Don't
"This
get
is
me
the
wrong. Yeah, yeah,
greatest show I've ever seen." I'd be like, "I'm not wa
yeah, yeah. It's
I
you're
don't care."
slogging. Yeah, yeah. There's a slog. Hey, I could watch all 27 of the MCU movies faster than 3 seasons of Supernatural almost, because if you think
Right,
about
yeah.
one season of Supernatural would be 6 to 7 Marvel movies. So you times that by 15, we are not at 85 Marvel movies yet, right? So
I know,
just
and you just
yeah.
can't and for a show like that, like, the quality is not there either.
Sure, 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 yeah,
You can't make it that but I will say one of my biggest things was the quality of shows just weren't what I wanted to look at. They just couldn't get there, and now it's different. Now they definitely have shows that just look cinematic quality. They do have that.
Yeah, did you give so not to stay on shows much, we're gonna do this segment y'all called Blank Check here in a moment, but I know you said you did MCU. Have you gotten into the new Gunverse? Because
Oh,
Peacemaker,
yeah.
the Peacemaker show kind of lines up with some of the direction. Is that something that can hook you if it's a show that's going to like, like if
Yeah.
somebody used like the MCU used Hawkeye, I thought the Hawkeye show was actually a really good 8 episodes. I don't really like a lot of MCU in that regards. I kinda like the Netflix stuff better actually, but, especially Daredevil and Punisher, but, something like Hawkeye was fun 'cause I thought it was gonna introduce her into the movies. It hasn't yet. But so is it easier for that when it's tying in with the movie then for you?
Yeah, most of the TV shows that I have seen are because there was a movie version of them either coming out or already existed, and I don't wanna not have seen the film. So, like, I've seen all of Sex and the City because I wanted to watch the movie, and so actually, that was I watched the film, and then I was like, "Well, I'm gonna go back and watch this show now," so I understand the film, and they were gonna make another movie, and they did. I've done that with, like, Ray Donovan. They made a film version of the last of Ray Donovan, so I was like, "I'm gonna watch 7 years of Liev Schreiber, I think I can get through that, and I enjoyed it. It's pretty good. So every now and then, a film tie-in
Yeah. Are you
that
gonna get
that'll
Peaky you gonna get Peaky Blinders a chance? I'm thinking about
I
that with
am.
Immortal Man. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did 2 episodes a while back ago. I've got a cousin, Rusty, who just loves Peaky Blinder and hyped it up, and I watched a couple and I liked it. It's a world that my wife's not really that's not a fun world for her in storytelling. And so then sometimes it's hard because, like, I like just watching she hates action movies, so usually when I'm home alone, I'm either action movies or I'm playing video games with, like, my niece and nephews and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So then it's hard to get into those shows, so I would if she loved Peaky Blinders, we would have already finished it, so but, yeah.
And the
Are you a
Gunverse is
couple
also
seasons
pretty
in or
good.
the
Do
Gunverse, you
what?
liking it? You are liking the Gunverse?
I am, yeah, it's pretty good. Peacemaker's a lot of fun. It's TV, it feels very filler. I'm not an animated guy, but Creature Commandos, he has, like, a little 7-episode animated thing that he did. That was a lot of fun. That's a
I'll have
good
to get
show.
I've been wanting to give it a go. So animation is where I get lost a lot of times. I'm just not I grew up when you had like I remember Aladdin came out and I was in high school and then we had a pep rally for our basketball team. So then I changed. You never had a friend like me to you never had a coach like me. And I did like a spoof. So like Aladdin, I remember Aladdin being huge and all of us loving Aladdin. And then so some of those kind of movies, but yeah, cartoons. I'm not anti, like it's not like look at you. I can't, it's not like the John Carpenter to me or anything like that. But so all right, so let's tell a story. Curtis, you have a lot of ideas, you have a lot of thoughts, you have a lot of experience. You've watched a lot of movies, you've talked to a lot of friends, you have friends who are in filmmaking. You yourself have done some short stories, directing, and writing. Read one of your short stories. And you're currently working with Ryan Smith on stuff. You don't know this about me, but I'm a billionaire and I want a good story and I want to infuse some money into Hollywood. I don't want soapbox. I want a good story. I'm going to write you a blank check. What you going to pitch to me? And what are some actors and directors and some ideas to get me going? Yep, I'm signing that blank check.
Yeah. Currently, I have a new script that I'm working on, just started, and it's kind of an exploitation, brutal action film,
Okay.
but it takes place in the Old West, and it's about a guy who basically hey, let me set the stage,
Okay.
okay? We got a guy, you've heard this before, on a white horse traveling through the Old West, stops in a town. We see him slowly get off the horse, takes his jacket off. He's got gun, 2 6 shoes, a rifle, knives. He's brass knuckles. He's got the whole shebang. He goes in, we hear the ruckus, we see body parts fly out. This is a hard R. Body parts fly out. He comes out, he beats it, takes him down. Building catches on fire. He goes off. And the whole thing is just about this guy on a revenge tour. So very
Yeah.
simple story, right? He's on a
Yep.
revenge tour across the Old West. His wife or daughter or both or someone has been murdered. And when that person was murdered, they were riding his horse, or maybe it was her horse. Doesn't really matter.
It could.
and he gets beat badly. And so the last thing we never get a close up until he's like leaving the place behind that he has just decimated, and we see that he's got, a dead eye. He's got a scar on both cheeks. He's got the rope burn around his neck. He's probably missing a chunk of like hair. I mean, he gets beat
Yeah.
badly, left for dead. Um, in the horse, this is where I'm going to lose people, but it's going to be good. Supernaturally comes back to life, and he gets on the horse and he goes on this revenge tour, and it's just called He Rides.
He
As
rides.
death comes in, riding a pale horse, and so it's him riding from town to town, taking down what is basically a bad government of
Okay.
people. There's a lot of development to go. It really hinders on the creativity of how the people are going down during the film.
Sure, if you're gonna do an exploitation, you know that. I mean, we gotta have, what's some
But we're not talking
inspiration.
macheting,
Yeah, okay.
not dumb, but really, really creative. Like the first scene, we don't see him kill anybody except for one guy. Everything happens off camera, and just creatively showing you the fight scenes in that way. And obviously, it stars Keanu Reeves.
It is Keanu Reeves, okay, alright. I Would you direct it, or would Tarantino with Django, something like he did with Django, be able to pull off your vision here? Is there a director that you're like that has done things that were like a Chad Stahelski from John Wick with the creativity of his fight scenes? Like, so
Yeah,
what's
he's amazing.
somebody who's some people you would bring in and pitch this and kinda storyboard with them? Okay, well, how would you see this, right? Or do you already have it in your head and it's a matter of just or do you just want a yes man or a yes woman, you know what I mean?
I mean, yes, people are nice.
Yeah.
I would love to direct, but if I wasn't directing, if I was just producing, it really wouldn't star Keanu if he already has his franchise like that. Although I don't think anyone's going to complain about getting another one. Great pull on Chad Stahelski being the director. He's fantastic. He can pull off a creative fight scene so well. Yeah, if I couldn't get, I would like Antoine Fuqua for it. I think that he could do a lot of good there if we really leaned into the fight portion of it. I think he's done. I'm pretty sure he did the Magnificent Seven, so he's been in the Western world before
Yeah, and then he's pulled
genre.
Revenge. Is Antoine Fuqua that's Man on Fire, right? Denzel?
Yeah, no, no,
So
no, no, no. That's Tony Scott did
that's
that.
Tony Scott, sorry,
He
why did I think
he
Antoine
can't
Fuqua
direct
did
it.
that?
He's dead.
Okay.
But there's just a lot. I mean, Catherine Bigelow would be great at it. There's a lot of directors out there that I could see. But if I was gonna take a big shot, I'd be like David Fincher. Like
Go
if I'm
really
gonna take one big swing, maybe Fincher will do it, then Brad Pitt will star in it.
there you go. Now, would you want do you have a is it just a group, or is there going to be a lot of Westerns, there's that final showdown. Do you have a Gene Hackman?
Mm.
For Quick and the Dead, do you have that? I said Quick and the Dead, but also Unforgiven, right? So that's funny that but do you have that type of person, maybe a female, maybe a male actor that you think, you know what, this role can be
Yeah.
ambiguous. So let's audition these couple ladies, let's audition a couple of these men, and let's see what Brad Pitt or Keanu does with them. You got some ideas of who could pull off a good Western villain? Because that's a timepiece. Like, hey, did you watch They Harder They Fall on Netflix? What a great movie.
Yeah.
Dude, what a
That's a great
fun
movie.
friggin' movie. Like, so you can do this, you can still do it well, you can still do westerns well. You've got me. Hey, listen, first off, you said western, you started explaining Pale Rider to me, so I started going, am I getting an AI Clint Eastwood in this movie, right? Am I getting a young Clint Eastwood, right? We can go on about AI, but you know what I'm saying? So westerns away to my heart. I freaking love westerns, man.
I mean, so like who doesn't really play a bad guy in westerns, but is one of the biggest Western actors that's still doing the thing right now. I mean, Kevin Costner would be a great bad guy
He
to be leading
deserves
the other side.
Dude, he deserves to get to be an epic bad guy. I just wanna
Yeah.
see him just like he did John Dutton so well in Yellowstone. I was so bummed. Listen, when American Horizon came out, when the Horizon Saga 1 came out and a month later the second was supposed to come out, I was right there. I was so excited. Just his pacing, I felt the pacing was off a little bit, but man, I'm so bummed that we're still fighting to get that second one, you know? And I know they filmed a lot of it. I
I
think
think
it's
the second one's premiered. Like
yeah, I
it's
think it was on a
done. It,
film
it, it
festival, yeah.
exists. Yeah. They just haven't released it anywhere,
Yeah, and I
which
think it's
sucks because
because
I like the first one.
yeah, I was a fan. I'm a Costner guy. Uh, Yeah, you put Costner in there, that would be a good one. What about the director Gareth Evans or Edwards?
Yeah.
Raid
Yeah.
2, and then Gangs of
I
London. So
I
you
mean,
don't
I've
like
seen
TV
it.
shows, but Gangs of London, season 1 of Gangs of London, I think you'd really if you want a good action, gritty story that gives you every single like, every episode gives you some emotion and some fighting, maybe check out Gangs of London season 1. That's he created that, and he puts a lot of his fight style is in. There's only one episode he actually directed, and I bet you if you watch the whole show, I bet you would come to me and without looking up on Google, you'd say, "It was it this episode?" And I bet you would be correct. Yeah, I'm telling you, I really think you would. And so, Gangs of London season 1. If you're a Raid 2, if you like him, if you like the Apostle, oh no, the Apostle was the other one. I always get them mixed up. But if you're a fan of his, he's somebody that I would like to. I kind of wanted him to do. If Chad hadn't done Highlander, I thought he'd be really awesome. But I'm really
Yeah,
liking that
no,
Chad's. Yeah,
he is awesome, and I wouldn't if someone said, "Well, you can't get Fincher," but, he Gareth Evans will come okay,
yeah, yeah, he's a good
that
one,
sounds
especially when you're
perfect.
gonna do gritty. If you're gonna do gritty, because he does a good job of like Raid 2, he really a lot of people will knock some of the slowness, but that's where you're starting to get some emotion behind some of these scenes. And I just felt like, oh man, that was just everything I wanted in my action movie was something like that.
Yeah.
So a fan of his. Okay. So, but Kevin Costner's a good one. Man, Brad Pitt. Have we seen Brad and Kevin Costner look each other on screen? Have we seen them look at each other on screen? I do not think we have seen
I
them
don't
look at
think
each.
so.
Yeah, I do not think that. So
It would
that
be
would be
good.
huge too. That's a huge hook to movies if you think about it, man. Building up some of these
Oh, yeah.
iconic guys seeing each other. Like I really wanted Wolf to be good because Brad Pitt and Clooney were back together again. I think it was called Wolf. What was it? You know what I'm
Wolves.
talking? Wolves. And it had
Yeah.
some moments. It had some moments, but when you see them
Yeah, it
come back
misses
together,
mainly,
it
though.
misses. It does. But it had a
Yeah.
few things like the scene. I don't want to give it away, but at the end, I thought the ending was funny and it was worth it for me because of just their relationship finally towards that end. There was just a very silly thing that just made me laugh. So, and it was supposed to be funny, but I don't know. But all right. So, okay, blank check. You got that. Do you have a favorite? Is music big to you in movies? And do you have someone that you would love to do a score for you?
To do a score, yeah, look, hate to go basic, but John Williams is available. He's got really the when I think of scores, he's the guy that has the most the ones that I hear from my childhood, especially that play in my head when I hear them. Like, name a more iconic guy behind the conductor pin or whatever. Like it's he's pretty great. There's Ludwig Göransson who just won the Oscar for Sinners, been kind of on fire. I believe that's his name. I hope I'm not botching that.
Nerd,
Uh,
figured out.
yeah, yeah. Jamie, pull it up. And I think that he's probably a more feasible choice. I think John Williams is like legit.
You have a blank check. You have a blank check. I would think
My worry is
money
that
makes
John
it
Williams
very. He's dead.
will be
Is he
dead
dead? Yeah, that's
before
true.
he's not
Yeah.
dead, but he's like 95. He's
Yeah,
toying
man.
with it.
His fingers probably can't work on those keyboards as well as they used to, maybe. So I don't know.
I do think he's doing a score right now, though. Like I
Is
think
he?
he is doing a score for maybe Spielberg's Disclosure Day, perhaps, or something came up. I heard that he was doing the score for,
There's a fun
which is
little
pretty
question.
impressive.
So, for somebody who watches as many movies you do per week, what is your movie you're most excited to watch in your own theater screen? Is there a movie that you're just like, I cannot wait to get my hands on this? I can't wait till we get it. And this is the one you're geeking out about. I know you love them all. Don't give me that patented answer. I just geek out for all of them. What is something like, Disclosure Day? What is something that makes Curtis go, ooh, I'm back to being a
Yes.
kid again? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I am very excited for Disclosure Day because
Yeah.
Spielberg's amazing. He might be the greatest director of all time. So I have no reason to do anything except for believe 100% this movie's going to be amazing. And I also hate to pick a sequel, but I'm going to. For me, this year, three has me extremely high. I don't know if you've seen Dune, if you watched Dune 2, but Dune 2 was one of the most amazing experiences I've had in the theater. It was very, very great. Dune 3, I think, is just getting. Denis Villeneuve is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing director. Can't wait for his James Bond movie that he's going to come out with. He's the next director of Bond. If we're going further out, that'd be the one I'm most excited for. Pumped for Dune 3. What are you pumped for this year?
That's a good question, but before I answer, I got a question for you about a movie guy. Do you think anybody will flinch or Doomsday? We're gonna get Doomsday. Are we gonna get both of them on the same day for sure, or do you think somebody will
We're getting
flinch?
Doomsday.
We're getting Doomsday.
We're getting
So
Doomsday.
we know yours. So Dune 3 is the first of the 2 you watch, right? I'm gonna say see, that's what I'm so, well, you can't say it's your most anticipated, Curtis, if you're gonna
Well,
watch
no, no.
Doomsday, or do you just want that to be your nightcap? You want, you know what I
No,
mean?
you have to go with the
Appetizer.
feeling. So you're gonna have a bigger smile on your face watching Avengers Doomsday.
Sure. Hope
Dune will
maybe.
be heavier. So yeah, I'm gonna watch Dune first and then Doomsday, but
Okay.
not because of anticipated, but just because if you watch them, it's really heavy, you might not want to watch the next film. Or if you watch something, yeah, no, but the other way around.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It
I don't
depends
know.
on
For
how you wanna end your
Barbenheimer, I
evening.
watched
How do you wanna end
Oppenheimer
it?
first.
Okay, you
Do
watch
what?
Oppenheimer. Well, it's not
Yeah,
to me, it's more about how do you wanna end your evening experience than begin it. Because, like, did you go see Grindhouse in the theater? I saw it in the theater at
yeah.
midnight, right? So it was from midnight to 4 in the morning. I felt had he done Death Proof first and the funner one second, it would have been way more enjoyable in that order, personally. Because I thought
So
Death
I really
Proof
enjoyed
had
it.
way I liked it, but Death Proof just had you know, when you're talking 2:33 in the morning and you've seen all the exploit you've seen all the zombie and you've seen these funny trailers, and then Death Proof, yeah, you had some kills, but what was it? It was, like, iconic Tarantino just talking, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah, so it
Tarantino
was
is
just
not an
kinda like
opener for Robert Rodriguez.
yeah, so, like, at 3 AM in the morning, Planet Terror would've got me, you know what I mean? But, like, I stay awake, so, I mean, I watched the whole thing, but I saw it with, like, 3 other people, nobody else stayed awake through death, you know what I mean? So that's why I asked, like, Dune's dead. So if Dune 3 is going to have I think it's gonna bring some noise, I think it's gonna bring some action, I think it's going to have that, but it's also gonna be some slow burn scenes and things like that, and there's gonna be a lot of the
For
dialogue
sure.
stuff. So, like, if you've watched a long if, like, if Doomsday, if the running time's 3 hours and Dune 3's 3 hours, do you wanna get the slow one out first? So then the one that's probably going to just that last
Yeah.
45 minutes, you know, see, that's where I would probably I would want to see Doomsday before Dune 3, but I would pick Dune 3 as my first on Doomsday. So then I can end with
It's tough because I might wanna sit with Dune 3 after.
yeah,
I
so
feel
and
like Doomsday is gonna be a little bit more of like, "That was cool," and then I'll be able to move on. I'm not gonna be emotionally ripped apart. There's just nothing you can do that to me.
you
I'm not
sure?
like that with the MCU, and I might really,
Okay.
really, really I just want it could be a great movie. I'm not dissing it. It could be fantastic. But, when everyone watched, like, Captain America lift the hammer, everyone's like, "Whoa, this is amazing. It's cool."
Okay, so
I do.
like, Curtis, before you leave, what is something that people can check you out on? Is there anything that you have out there? Like, are you on Twitter and you like to give your input? Is the you got a Twitter for the College Station? Where can people check you out?
Yeah, well, if you can follow the College Station socials, that'd be awesome. We're on Instagram, on Facebook, we're on TikTok. Yeah, if you go to my TikTok, check out my short film band. It was a lot of fun to make that guy, and I went to Smod Castle a few years ago, and David Watson was the DP, and Ryan Smith was the writer, and so that's an interesting thing to go out and check out if you got the opportunity to do. It. It's 4.5 minutes long, so
Okay, nice, nice. Well, we appreciate you being on the show. So thank you so much. We'll
I
get
know,
you.
man, it was
Yeah,
great.
yeah. No, we'll get you back on. We'll talk just some of these other things that we talked about. We're gonna get me and Curtis. You're gonna get an episode of just him and I going back and forth on just movies in general. So you've got Curtis's story here. So thank you so much, and everybody else, like and subscribe and get us those answers to his question. What's your eraser? What do you want erased? You know, and what do you want to relive? All right. Thank you all, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you guys.